This podcast is dedicated to the memory of David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Farron, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein, and to Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell.
This is Zodiac speaking.
A Classic Gunpoint Family podcast. I'm your host, Chris Garcia. I'm going to start to look at the suspects that are most frequently noted, with Lawrence Kane, a.k.a. Lawrence Klein, a.k.a. Lawrence Kane spelled differently. It's a very, very strange case here, because Kane himself was maybe not as violent a suspect as we think. But at the same time, he certainly was violent. And the problem with Kane is he's in the orbit. And the first thing that always happens is that when you are in the orbit of a case like the Zodiac's, you end up being drawn in, whether you like it or not. Usually, you end up as a suspect, even if it's just briefly. Now, Kane would have been 45 in 1969. So he's on the older end of those who are considered to have been suspects. But the real key are three things. One, he had a brain injury to his frontal lobe in 1962. And according to most research I've found, it's left him unable to control his self-gratification, which, that's a big deal. He was arrested for peeping a lot, several times. But one of the things that happened was that his brain injury actually got worse, and the left side of his face was partially paralyzed. And supposedly he may have had a stutter, and that's important, because down the line, of course, when we see the attacks at Lake Berryessa, mentioned he had a stutter. Okay. But there's a whole bunch more. Things like, he is the leading suspect for the disappearance of Donna Lass. And Harvey Hines, legitimate, brilliant investigator, he thinks it was Kane because he worked in the same building. It's possible. He also noted that the Bay Area letters, the letters to the Chronicle, the Examiner, the Vallejo Times-Herald, were all very similar to Kane's handwriting. Okay. He also believes that Kane was the one who kidnapped Kathleen Johns. Realistically, it could be. The description, the pictures of him that exist from the time, they seem slightly different than photos I've seen of Kane, but he could have been wearing glasses. Of course, there's the claim that when he does his thing, he looks completely different. That's possible. But he did seem a little bit old. And Kathleen Johns actually supposedly identified Lawrence Kane in a 6-person lineup, which, quite possibly. Now, there are a couple other notices. Pam Huckabee, of course, said that Kane had been trailing her sister. Certainly possible. He was in the area. Now, we know a few minor issues here. We know that Kane lived at 217 Eddy Street at the time of the Paul Stein murder, which is about a quarter mile from Mason and Geary, which would have been the pickup for Zodiac. And that's interesting. I don't think it's very convincing, but all these put together becomes more... well, it just becomes more weighty. But here's the problem that I think needs to be addressed. One, there's no evidence. I don't know if his fingerprints or DNA have been run against. I assume they would have been if they have them, which they should, because he had a long criminal history. But also, the two cases that he is most closely identified with, and honestly, he's good for both of them, are Donna Lass and Kathleen Johns, neither of whom might be the Zodiac. Now, the tailing of Darlene Ferrin, that's an interesting possibility. But there was also an attack of another victim that I haven't talked about because it seems very different. Donna Lull, who was taken from her car in 1974 at Red Rock Canyon in Vegas, and they later found her body in a mine shaft in San Bernardino. Now, her boyfriend, Roy, survived the attack and actually gave a description that actually matched Kane. And his description of the car definitely had a possibility of Kane. There are marked differences with the Lull murders and the Zodiac murders, certainly. The biggest being that he took the body and he moved it. Whoever did it. And is it Kane? There are a bunch of people who say that the My Name Is cipher points to Lawrence Kane. I don't know. I'm having more and more trouble fitting the ciphers into being actual clues as to just being annoyances. All the ones that have been cracked have just left more questions. Where you get very, very, very interesting. And there's a lot, actually, you should probably go and read and listen to Harvey Hines' videos about Lawrence Kane, because they're good. He makes a couple of jumps I don't buy into, but there are a couple of interesting things. One, I really believe that he probably didn't commit the main Zodiac crimes. He absolutely may have killed Donna Lass. He may have been the one who kidnapped Kathleen Johns. I am much, much more hesitant to give any of the other Zodiac crimes to this suspect. Now, he liked to peep, and thus the idea is that, well, maybe he was peeping on couples at the Lover's Lane and then just decided randomly to shoot. That's a far stretch. He's the one who I have the most time deleting from my sort of mental suspects. Same time, I don't think it was him. There is nothing that fundamentally says Kane had murderous impulses. Did he have mental issues? Absolutely. Was he violent? Yes, it's to at least some degree. But those things taken together and applied to the Zodiac seems to be tenuous at best. The most tenuous part of it is Lass and Johns as Zodiac victims, or assaultees, I guess. He may well have killed Lass. The circumstantial evidence there is fairly strong, actually. Kathleen Johns claimed, sadly passed, that he was the one who took her. Could well be. Living a quarter mile from the pickup site, Zodiac had always been very careful to be away from the place. So if he was living in San Francisco and he killed in San Francisco, he would have gone further afield. Because one thing, Zodiac, he was an opportunistic killer at the same time as being a killer who knew what he was going to do. The first two murders, he got in and out quick. The reason why I question Lake Berryessa and San Francisco are that he didn't. He had interactions with the victim. So it's very difficult for me to say that I would consider Lawrence Kane I'd consider him a good suspect. I wouldn't consider him a top-level suspect. Because ultimately, I just don't see his overall impact that would lead him to that. Now, is he someone who should definitely be closer investigated for Donna Lass? Absolutely. In much the same way that Tool or whatever his name is should be looked at very hard for Sherry Jo Bates, he needs to be looked at for Donna Lass. I don't necessarily consider either of them Zodiac victims. Murder? Absolutely possible. But I don't think Lawrence Kane was a Zodiac killer.